It was it probably needed to be better, right? Like I thought we played well. We created some chances. He made some good saves, but we're gonna need like a couple more saves than that probably to win. So. But it is what it is. We'll regroup. It wasn't like we made some mistakes in front of them that we'll have to clean up and try to get the job done. It's a team game.
Avalanche coach Jared Bednar on the post game. The Avs lose game 1, 7-6. Defense optional yesterday per the NHL. Only the second playoff game ever in which the two teams combined for 6 or more goals in more than one period in the game, and there's no way to dance around it. Alexandar Georgiev was not average, not pedestrian. He was bad. Now, there are things...
It was the worst playoff game ever played by an Avalanche goaltender.
There are things in the defense that we should discuss, but I think that's fair. And you looked at the goals expected.
Yes, and he's minus 4.84.
Minus 4.84.
So what that's telling you is
should have won 6-3.
That given the shots taken where they were taken from, under the circumstances they were taken under, 2, maybe 3 goals should have been given up by Alexandar Georgiev last night. Instead, he gave up 7. No empty net goals. All 7 goals went against him. And what do they have? 23 shots? The Avalanche had twice as many shots as Winnipeg did last night. The silver lining for me, and I said this somewhat sardonically last night to a few friends of mine, actually texted back and forth, that I was much, much, much more surprised that Hellebuck gave up 6.
Yeah.
As opposed to Georgiev giving up 7. And if there's a silver lining, the game was sort of played the way the Avalanche would prefer to play it.
Yes.
It was not a lockdown 1-0, 2-1 slugfest with 35 or 40 combined shots on goal. There were almost 70 shots on goal taken between the two teams combined. 3 of the 4 lines scored goals, not just had points, scored goals. Only the 4th line was held off the score sheet. The top 2 defense pairings had points last night for the Avalanche. Now, of those 4 defensemen, Manson was terrible.
Manson was
and
abysmal.
His mistake probably, it was one of the few goals that Georgiev could not have been expected to stop, because
Manson flipped it directly in the front of the goal.
At least half a dozen options. 5 were decent options, and 1 was awful, and he chose the awful one by flipping it out on his backhand into the middle, where there was a Jet forward waiting, and bang, bang, pucks in the net.
Yeah. And that was old friend Vladislav Nemesnikov, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. And so you had their checkers, who don't score a lot of goals, going crazy last night for Winnipeg. That's how bad the goaltending was, but how awful the mistakes were, too. The Avalanche have advantages in this series. Winnipeg doesn't win faceoffs. Winnipeg's penalty killing is not just average, it's bad, as the Avalanche demonstrated last night by going 2 for 2 in the power play and scoring an extra attacker goal 6 on 5.
Yep. It was a bit of a weird game, and I think the second and third goals, I don't think Georgiev had a chance of stopping. I think those were both turnovers that really had virtually no shot.
Okay, but settle it. It's still 3-3.
3-3. Right. Oh, I agree.
I mean, I
you need to settle down. No, and look,
I understand.
Georgiev was
second,
bad.
third goals you could
bad.
say might have been scored on a lot of goalies.
Yeah. Arif Dean of Mile High Sports did a little research last night. Now, went back to 1993. It's the 21st time since 93 where a goalie's surrendered 7 or more goals. But Georgiev's 16 saves out of those 21 times, the lowest total of anyone.
Right.
So, and
you
that
were
is
surprised when he stopped the puck.
I was a historically
surprised when he stopped.
Bad game, and as such, I look at this, and I'm not going to go overboard like the way that a lot of people have been on the internet. Like, oh, that's it. You have to trade Georgiev. He's done with. He's never wear an Av sweater again. I'm like, look, I'm not going to go that far. But he can't play again in the playoffs.
No, he can't.
He can't.
And listen. Annanen's sick, and apparently quite sick, because you could tell when Bednar was asked about it last night. Well, there was no way he was so sick. Now, they didn't say what he had, if it was the flu or a virus or whatever. Virus would be more serious because there is a virus going around, and if he's got that, remember Miles Wood had it.
Right.
And he was out a while. He missed games, multiple games. From the tone, it sounds as if Annan is really sick and may not physically be capable of playing game 2. That's the only circumstance in which I think Bednar himself would go with Georgiev because there's no other choice.
Right, there's no choice.
There's no other choice. And the position I would have taken last year with Georgiev, for example, and he did not have a great series against Seattle, but he wasn't bad. Grubauer outplayed him, but he wasn't the reason they lost the series.
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
It's fair.
And for those who last year, at some point during the series, might have been inclined to say, hey, make a change. Again, there was no real alternative, for one. And two, I would have said, you know what, if you do that, you can't then go back to him.
Right.
Okay? The goalie's psyche is very different from a normal player's psyche. You can bench players, skaters, and, you can cut their ice time. And you remove a goaltender from the playoffs, that's it. You know what I'd say, though, now? I'd say even if you had to go back to him, grow up. Grow up. And if you get benched on Tuesday, and let's say Annanen isn't much better, and Bednar, for whatever reason, decides later in the series, assume that now that it won't be a sweep. I don't think it will be. I think Winnipeg will win in 5, but I don't think it'll be a sweep.
I don't think it'll be a sweep. I'm not convinced the Avalanche are done. But we'll talk about that.
Well, I don't think they're done, but I'm not. This is a problem without seemingly a solution. But I would say, if Annanen is right, I'd play Annanen and not worry about Georgiev's feelings on the matter one bit. And if you had to go back to him, you'd expect him to be a team player and summon up some gumption and go out there and play. I thought last night he looked all but unhinged to me, and I was shocked at each of the 16 saves he made. I thought all those shots were going in. I thought he could have given up 10, 12 last night.
Right.
He wasn't even close to being sharp.
And you can't play him, and there's precedent here. I mean, the Washington
Capitals. And they gave him a
Capitals,
lead right away, and then they gave him a lead a second time, and he got worse and worse and worse.
Washington Capitals back in 2018 went into the playoffs in their first round against Columbus.
Right.
They lost that opening game, and it was a 1-goal game. Philip Grubauer was the goaltender.
Yep.
They made a change. Went to Braden Holtby. Now, they never had to go back to Grubauer.
Because Holtby
took them all the way to the Cup.
Took them to the Cup, and my friend Terry Fry's famous formulation, you can win with a backup goaltender as long as he doesn't play like a backup goaltender.
But some of the things, assuming Annanen is healthy enough to play, maybe for this Avalanche team in this series gives them an advantage. And I want to preface this by saying that when they are both at their best, Georgiev is a much better goalie than Justus Annanen when they're both at their best.
Sure.
He's more talented. He's more skilled. He's more experienced.
Yep.
He has quicker reflexes. Yep. He is a much better goalie than Justus Annanen when they are both right. But he is not right now. Annanen, despite being perhaps the lesser goaltender, is also quieter in net.
Calmer.
He is more steady in net. And I would liken this to what Bill Belichick once talked about, his strategy in free agency. when he was starting to get a lot of guys that were nearing the end of their career, but then also passing on a lot of those guys. And I'm paraphrasing a bit, but he said, I don't want a guy that's a 10 one week and a 3 the next week. I would rather have a team with a whole bunch of 6s that they're 6 every Sunday.
Yeah.
Because if you know what you are getting, good, bad, or indifferent, you can plan for it and you can scheme for it. And with Ananen right now, I think you know what you're getting, even if that ceiling is lower than it is with Georgiev. Georgiev right now, you don't know what you will get. It is likely going to be bad.
Be really
right
bad.
now, it is likely going to be bad.
Really, really low floor.
But you can scheme around Ananen's deficiencies because right now he is playing a calmer and more consistent goaltender in the net.
If I told you, this is rhetorical, of course, if I had told you before the game last night, I've said this for years about the Avalanche, going back to 2020, for goodness sake, when they were playing up in Edmonton in the playoffs. They give up 25 or fewer shots.
Yeah, they win.
And they score more than 3 goals. They're going to win.
They almost always win.
I mean, I could be in net. You could be in net. They could put a cardboard cutout out there and give up on 23 shots, as they gave up last night, fewer than 3 goals. Heck, fewer than 6. Now, I am exaggerating that because Bednar said, well, he made a couple more saves.
Yeah.
Leaving the impression that they would have won 6-5. No, they probably wouldn't have scored 6 goals because
you wouldn't have had the extra
goal. Right. And maybe Winnipeg doesn't take a penalty with a 1-goal lead or a tie game.
Mm-hmm.
Late in the game. You can't just assume. Well, the 6 is a given. The 6 is the shocker. Actually,
right, that's the shocking.
Giving
stat.
up 7 didn't shock me, surprised me, but it didn't shock me. It shocked me that Hellebuyck gave up 6. It really did. And Winnipeg made some great. I mean, all 6 weren't his fault either.
No,
but maybe 2 or 3 of them were. You'd expect him to stop 2 or 3 of them. He didn't have a good game, and I gave you the one side of it that, they showed that they aren't certainly intimidated by Hellebuyck's status as maybe the Vezina Trophy winner for this year.
And quite frankly, they appeared to get under his skin a little bit.
A little bit, fluster him a bit. I agree, but how many more games is he going to have like that?
Right.
Not many. So your
you can't assume it, at
goaltending
least
needs to be good. My friend Terry Fry texted me last night with an observation that I found very interesting. He said, the 2 Stanley Cup teams were better than the 22 team. And Patrick Waugh had to steal games.
Yeah.
Maybe we should look at
63
all this
saves.
differently and say,
at one point,
the big upset in all of this is not that the Avalanche haven't won more Stanley Cups. It's that they won the one they won with pedestrian goaltending at best.
At best.
Who wins with pedestrian goaltending?
Not often.
Tampa Bay.
Not often.
Right?
It's
not Las
often.
Vegas last year.
No.
Who wins with pedestrian goal? The Avs didn't win in 96 or 01 with pedestrian
Hall of Fame goaltending.
He stole games on a team that was much better than the one that won the Cup and the one that's sure as hell better than the one that's playing now.
Jared Bednar, after the game, did point out, it's one game. It's one game. There are 6 more. And as we always talk about, right, it's not a series till the road team wins a game. So 1-0. Bednar talked about the reality of losing one game and losing it close, but in the end, one game.
Well, I thought our start was great tonight. I did. And I know that we get a lead and then it's like, it's gone. But, I just felt like we were pretty steady in our approach tonight. I didn't think, you get the feeling on the bench, is frustration sitting in? Is it do you believe in what you're doing? I think we proved a lot to ourselves tonight in that locker room. We haven't played the Jets well this year. We played them a good game at home early in the season, but like that's our first taste of us playing hard and them playing hard and seeing what's going to happen, And it's a 7-game series, so I don't think that a whole lot changed for us, like from start to finish in that game. I thought the guys played as hard as they possibly could and as clean as they possibly could.
The first 55 minutes of the game, why would they be frustrated? They had 10 high-danger chances. You do the math.
Yeah.
Once every 5 minutes, which is once about every 4 shifts, right? They're getting a high-danger chance, not just a scoring chance, a high-danger scoring chance. So there's no reason to get frustrated with anybody except the goaltender, I suppose, and maybe with one or two of the silly defensive mistakes they made. And again, to your constant point, they don't move, whether it's Manson giving the puck away or Manson, who's the most physical defenseman, not moving a player out from in front of the net that I could move, out in front of the net with the right technique. Or you could move with the right technique. And the guys between periods last night, who was doing Messier and the defenseman.
Oh, I'm not sure. I wasn't watching the in-between periods.
Periods?
Nope. I wasn't.
Actually, they were pretty good. Come on, Danny, help me out.
I was in Vail yesterday on the mountain. Yeah. I didn't watch. I barely watched the game.
He's the defenseman.
Yeah. That's all right.
Former Lindsey Vonn boyfriend.
Oh, PK Subban.
PK Subban. And they were demonstrating how even average defensemen move a player out from in front of the net in the same way you box out in basketball, where you're carving out your space and backing up. You're not making a lot of contact, but you carve out your space, you turn at a certain angle, and maybe you don't get the rebound, but your guy doesn't get it either.